Okay.
Thanks, Ann. All right, county budget goal setting and decision. Isn't really you guys,
Yeah.
but just moving along on the agenda.
Because I think we're just kind of an intermittent thing. One of the things that I think that I talked to Laura about yesterday, there was a conversation piece, we're switching records management systems. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I was, yep.
So, and I don't know if you've been appraised of it, Franklin, or not, but we've been using the Spillman Nova. Nick, this is from the Nick era here. When they got into this, it was one of those things that they're developing it, and the more and more they develop it, the worse and worse it gets. One of the problems with it is that it is not user-friendly. Only one officer can be in the system at a time. If there's two in it, if one hits save, all the information goes bye-bye. Everything, report, everything. So it's really been kind of a mess when we have some of these bigger cases, because I can't have one officer enter evidence, I can't have one entering photos, and I can't have more than one person writing a report at the same time. So basically, everybody has to take their turn. And so we're creating a lot of work just in that aspect. We're paying $25,200 annually to Spillman, that's out of the 911 funds. And that's what we've been doing for 2 years, I guess.
This would be year 2.
Year 2. Our contract does come up, I think, next month. We had Brandon, Seth, Tammy, and Becca all sat through Zerker Technologies demonstration. They've been here about a half a dozen times this year. I met with them once, his Lovell, I think is his name. And I sat down with him. The price tag on it, if we paid it outright one time cost is $169,000 and change. But over the duration of 7 years is what they have a contract for. It's $27,132, so it's a little less than $2,000 more of an increase. I thought, well, let's just do it that way. It leaves those funds available in the 911 fund. So I did go through, and that's in the process of being installed. And they had a discussion with Laura yesterday. It's not really sure how. There was kind of a discussion about a resolution. I don't think there needs to be a resolution. Because it's something we already do. So just keep everybody appraised of what's going on. From Brandon and Tammy and Seth and Becca, all the supervisors of those areas, this is something that meets everybody's needs across the board. The board billing thing obviously is a huge thing for Tammy, along with civil, because the civil's pretty terrible in the Spillman. The records management thing for me is gonna be a lot better than what Spillman is. They're still having issues. We kinda got ourselves in a bind in the last 2 years because Spillman and their crime data reporting ability was poor at best. And so I put the drug task force in jeopardy of losing their funding because our crime data hasn't been at the standard set by the state and federal government. So you can only have no less than a 4% error rate. I've been over the 4% error rate. With the exception of the last 3 months, but every month before that I have been because the system is not developed. So made a command decision, we did that. The other thing that we were going to discuss today, I guess, and bring up is currently we have 6 full-time dispatchers. Seth came to you folks here a little bit ago, asked for a part-time position. Since then I've said we need another full-time. One of the problems we have is, like yesterday, there was 91 calls that were logged by dispatch. There was 21 calls for service that the deputies went out and put their boots on the ground. My big issue is Seth and Tammy are both rotating in through the control room, taking turns, 5-6 hours in a whack, opening doors and dealing with people in the public because the dispatcher can't get off the radio or off the phone. It's too busy down there. We're averaging that, in day shift alone, they're logging between 60 and 70 calls into the system, just one dispatcher. We have one out on administrative leave. We have one who's out on medical, so it leaves 4. And Rebecca Jones, the dispatch supervisor, Monday morning, in the midst of her 70 calls that came in on her shift and the 15 calls for service that she dispatched out, she was running to the bathroom and puking because she was so sick. We didn't have anybody to cover. Obviously with Shauna working nights, Delaware was in Washington, and Bree was stuck at home with her kids. There was nobody to come in and replace her. That's not a good working environment for any of us. So we would want to do it ourselves, but she muscled through 12 hours of work, and in that condition to then come back the next day. So my request to Seth was go and adjust the preliminary budget aspect. Having a discussion with Laura yesterday on this was that I think we finished in the dispatch funds that were available in our last fiscal year budget. I think we ended the year in that 83 or 84% that was expended. With Seth's proposal full-time, we're only talking about a $12,000 increase from the part-time where what he had figured out that was gonna cost him. It was only about a $12,000 increase to be a full-time employee, and that's probably gonna be majority of benefits. He was looking at a 30% or 30 hours a week, which we know is gonna give you the benefits anyways, under the new rules. So it really isn't a huge increase, but it is an increase. But I think overall, with the money that was allocated last year in regards to the funding, and we had a lot of overtime last year because we had to send all of our dispatchers to, all the dispatchers have almost, with the exception of 2 now, have gone through correction detention basic, so in the PLC. So we've had a person in the class I think we've had people in the class for last year, for every class. So I think financially, I don't think it's gonna jam us. I think we're gonna see a reduction in the overtime. Should also see a reduction in the sick leave because people are getting burned out, and I can't keep doing this to my staff. That's one area, and Franklin, when we moved into that building in '05, there was 4 patrol guys, sheriff, the undersheriff, and the captain. There was 6 dispatchers with 2 part-time positions, and then there was, in April, we had the jail. We finally got employees for the jail, and that's when Donnie came on board. But we had 6 full-time and we had 3 part-time, and those through the years have been cut, and so now they're starting to become back. I don't think we're gonna have to transfer funds or anything like that. I think there's enough money in there to make this work without having too many issues.
So what you're saying, you're getting what, it would not be a part-time position, it'd be a full-time position.
That's what I was asking, you're not gonna ask for a part-time?
The thing that we might do.
So you're not asking for a part and a half?
No, what I'm
I
asking.
mean, a full and a half, sorry.
No, this is just making the part to a full. We just can't, it's honestly, everybody's got families, everybody's got kids, and, at some point, we've all preached it forever, our families come first. And these folks are, when their kids are at home, they're with them, and they're putting work away, and we've been running 12s for the last 4 or 5 months. And it's taken a toll. And Janet plans on retiring. She's requested to go to a part-time status in January. That might be something that we can look at down the road, but it honestly, it's just become increasingly more.
That's what I suggested, is have a couple part-time ones and keep them certified.
And it's tough,
Just for these occasions,
And it's hard to find these, the hard thing is we had quite a few applications for it, but there's so many people out there that need to have more than just a couple hours a week, and that's where, or being on an on-call status. That's the tough part, and so trying to find these people who are willing to come in, they gotta come into the gate, they're gonna spend 8 weeks doing the training, they're gonna spend a week at the academy, and then they're gonna spend a month at the academy. So we got a financial investment into them, but then after they're done there, then they're at an at-will basis, and that's where it really causes us a bind, is that having some of these folks that, you call them like, hey, I've already got, I have another job because I need to support my family. And so we're really seeing where it's really tough to get these guys, unless they come into us trained, and they have nothing to do, they're already retired from a job or whatever. But then at that same breath, if you get somebody who's already retired from a job, they don't want to walk into a zoo. And, that's the hard part too, is.
if you can find some, that'd be great.
Yeah, if you can find them, it'd be perfect. It's really tough, and Broward County is an anomaly in and of itself, and, we've had several discussions. We don't know what the turning point has been here. It's been the definite, all of a sudden, bam. there's no more slow time. I mean, you remember back in the day where after hunting season, nothing happened. I was telling Laura, when Seth was in FTO, and you remember this, I had to extend it because for a month and a half, 6 weeks, we never had a call. Not one call.
I can remember some nights with the graveyard shift and never have a call
Yeah.
all night.
Yeah.
Other than the 904 shift.
And it's honestly now, I mean, when I looked this morning, just to see what was there was 21 calls for service that the deputies responded to yesterday, and one of them was a coroner call, right? Or was that Monday?
That was the day before.
Day before, and that took quite a job, amount of time. It never stops. It never stops. And we do have the high patrolman in the area now. Jody Frost is her name. And so she's kind of a replacement to Cal and Marvin. But she's, Mark Toombs is here, so we're starting to get some assistance from the state. But now it's not just that. I mean, right now Marvin's out investigating a sexual assault on a 6-year-old, and he's gonna be tied up for pretty much most of the day. And so we're just getting bombarded by big cases, we're getting bombarded by penalty stuff, and I look at, last night going through, watching the news in bits, and Chief Brown out of Dallas, Texas, I think he said it the best. We're asking too much of our cops anymore. I mean, the dog calls, hey, I don't like my neighbor, can you go talk to him because of this issue, and blah, 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 blah. Everything that people don't wanna deal with, they're calling law enforcement to deal with. And it really is getting to be a very taxing environment, and I think this is just one way to kind of relieve some of that load, and like I told Seth, we need to be able to cover up where we don't need 2 dispatchers at 7 in the morning like what's been done in the past. I need one that from about 10 o'clock on to be there to help out. And so I guess that's why I'm here, is say, please, can I just switch this from a part-time position to, I think Seth said he was looking at funding it at 30-hour a week, and I'm just wanting to increase it to the 40-hour a week and be done with it. And I think, like I said, through the budget of what we had in excess of the dispatch and in that aspect, I don't think it's gonna be a financial burden. Really, when it comes to our budget, obviously we all know that the public safety aspect of the patrol division itself is the area that's always been in concern. It's not dispatch, it's not detention, it's the patrol side. And we definitely, there's lots of things that involve that, but one of it's that we don't have a set idea of what's gonna happen. And like the detention side, we know the meals and meds and things of that, things that are definitely plannable, and as well as in dispatch. Ours is more fluent, it's like pouring a glass of water on the table, you're just not sure which way it's gonna go.
Now, the 911 fund's helping you on this then too? Or?
I don't know. I guess I'm still trying to figure out the whole thing of the 911 funds and what can and can't be done. I don't know if they can be used for wages or not. I don't think they can, but we had enough. There's some things that have changed in the preliminary budget aspect, kind of reduce some things in certain areas, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty confident we were right around 83% of what was appropriated to dispatch last year is where we ended. And I think that's, I think this next year in this aspect, we're gonna have a little better idea. One, we're gonna see some reduction in that overtime because of the training aspect. The dispatchers we have right now, for the most part, aren't going anywhere. They're pretty locked in tight. They like their jobs, they like what they do, and I don't foresee any of them, with the exception of Janet. I'm not sure what the status is with Shannon, but with Janet, we've known for a period of time, she's sent a letter, my last day will be July 17th to 17th. Some about quirky numbers, but that's the way Janet is, and we all know that. But, so we already know that's coming, and that's something we can plan for in the future. But, I honestly, I don't foresee this being a real big issue, so.
Back up a little bit where you're changing this conversion's taking place. You said that this contract expires in a month now. You're gonna be able to and stay with that company, or make sure that the conversion's gonna be okay, so there ain't this big lack of.
No, I think and I'd have to, I wish Seth is actually, he's having a meeting with his staff right now, or I'd have him over here. I thought he was gonna call and have a discussion with Spillman. Because one of the nice things with this new Zerker is they're gonna take all the information off of our past two records management systems. So Swift and Spillman, they're gonna transfer all that information, photos and all that stuff over into their system.
They are that.
So that's part of the cost, which is huge for us. I mean, that's a huge thing. And then, we did get lucky with the website aspect of the jail roster because, Spillman is not able to do the, jail roster. That was the whole reason for the webpage, was to get the jail roster and reduce the amount of calls into dispatch. So we got lucky in that aspect, is that, one, we've been paying some $25,000 for something that's not gonna work in that capacity in the first place, so it's really a timely change. And so, that is a 911 fund issue though, that whole records management system. The other thing, when you look at the 911 funds, there's, in the actual portion part of that, I think there's, the number's pretty low. But we had some big changes, and I think, the Experience, and what was the other one we did last year? The gray bar stuff, that was a $170,000 note, to pay off. And so that took down that monies that was in there, but our cash balance on that is still fairly significant. So over the 7-year plan, and then after 7 years, we're gonna go to a maintenance contract, which is, my understanding is less than 20,000, which is good because we're paying 25.2 right now. So I think, really I don't see a lot of fluctuation there. And for the most part, our 911 system is sound. It's a good
Almost
system.
brand new.
Yeah. The only thing, and then the thing is I still have that 75,000 part of that earmarked for the communications aspect of the T1 for the trunking system. So that's money there as well. And in reality is, I could probably push that envelope a little harder. I would like to try to get all the key players of the radio system, fire, medical, roads, everybody who plays on the system should have a dog in the fight on that as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm still gonna try to see if people are willing to participate in some fashion, to make that happen, to get that communications piece finished up and getting in the direction we need it to go. So, there's lots of things changing over there, but I think that we're kind of putting a few things to bed. So I don't see a lot of problems.
The other, and Nick may know this with Zerker too, it's a server-based system. And in that maintenance contract, they cover your servers, so it's not like when Swift would break down. I don't know if you guys remember Brenda maybe coming to you in the past. It'd be about a $50,000 bill, right, for a new server. So they put 2 servers in and the maintenance contract covers that. So if one goes out, it switches to the next. Then they come in and replace that. So it's not a cost that you're ever gonna have to look at.
That's a nice change.
So
Yeah.
from once this is paid off and it goes down, it stays at their yearly cost. There's no hidden fees. It's all just right there. So everything's covered. The other thing, if there's a catastrophe in the jail, it has a 30-minute backup at their location in South Dakota. So all your information is saved there, like a fire or something. You don't lose your information on those 2 servers. So it's all backed up. So there's a lot of pluses with it, and especially cost-wise. And it's also linked into a mobile for in-car computers, which we hope to have someday. Make things a lot easier for our patrol staff. So it's kind of set up and geared for that already.
It'd be nice things, all of our forms that we use, and that's one of the things I did bring up with Lori yesterday, was our search warrants, our statement forms, our notice of rights, all that stuff goes onto this system. And so at some point when we ever get computers in the car, the officers can print the form out right there in their car. There's no reason for us to actually go in and have those printed anymore. So same with our citations. We won't be buying citations. We won't be buying all these random forms. We can print them off just right in the car or off the computer, and it saves us a ton of time. So the nice thing is there's some backside savings that come down the pike with that. The other cool thing about it is that if you have a search warrant tab in there, it auto-populates as you're going through. Once you're done, you can go over and hit send a judge, and it emails the search warrant to the judge, and you can go and review it. sign the thing and fax it back or email it back, whichever way he wants to do. And, that's the nice thing, we don't have to get in the car and drive somewhere and put boots on the ground to have a warrant signed, so, there's some nice little caveats to it, so.
My thinking when this was brought forward yesterday is it's managerial. So I think, our support certainly is, I think, what we should be doing, but I don't think these guys necessarily need our permission, and we certainly don't need to do the resolution with the 2 weeks. My personal opinion is go for it, and, you have
Yeah.
my blessing.
I'd have to agree with Chairman Olbert.
You get her done.
On both
Thank you.
issues,
Yes.
the full-timer and the Zerker?
Zerker.
Zerker.
And, you know, and I appreciate it, and, you know, like I said, Brandon and I, we spend a lot of time looking at the budget. It's not something that we just look at once a month. It's a constant review and see where we can cut and where we need to increase and everything else. So, you know, hopefully you guys can get to a point where you understand we're not coming in here half-ass, unprepared on things. We do the research and figure it out. The other thing I guess I will bring up is,
Before you move on, we know that. Yeah.
the other thing is Brandon's put a lot of effort into getting he's been working with the BOR and getting a full-time position out there. And I had a conversation with Lee Holmes from BOR Monday, I guess it was, and he understands the need that's out there. He didn't realize until he put boots on the ground over the 4th of July how many people are actually encompassing our lake borders. And so he called and we had a real good conversation about that. And I think with Brandon's conversations and paperwork and reports that he's sending to him, that is probably gonna be coming to fruition this year. I think it's gonna happen.
Nice.
And so that will give us an opportunity to have somebody solely assigned to the lake area. They will be taking calls in the lake area outside of the boundaries of the lake and VOR ground itself, but there will always be somebody Thursday through Sunday assigned in that area with some part-times during the summer as well. So one, gives them a little more bang for their buck, and it gives us an opportunity to have our guys doing the north and south like we have been without having to worry about running back to the lake. And so that's something I think is gonna take place in September. So I think that's good. And I did meet with the Rotary. I hope Brian said something. I gave him a bad time about the bikes last night.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, he did show up, and so it sounds like Rotary is gonna take that to their board next month. And then Pat made a suggestion to challenge other organizations to donate to the bike patrol. It seems a little odd in a small community as Townsend, but having officers run around with bicycles, but I think it's a good way to get out and maybe deter some of the things, because people, you know how it is.
I'm skeptical on that part too.
Yeah.
Those bike patrol,
Well, it's not, and it's not, I don't want to rephrase this, it's not a bike patrol as you're gonna go out and spend your whole shift on it. But like during Oktoberfest, when you can't get anywhere near that place without parking 5 blocks away, and you're still taking a call, you have to run to your car.
well, I can remember years and time after I rode into that, we're parked somewhere, and they do. We was running down Main Street, but I mean, we did it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
and it's,
don't,
you know,
I've seen these bike things in
well, it's, the
these
other
other
thing,
areas down
yeah,
California. One time I was in a place and I was watching that. Anyway, I'm not
But
saying
you can't compare that, because, I mean, you've got
Well,
specific needs. I'd like to
yeah.
hear you explain more.
well, and the part of the thing, one of the things that really frustrates us is, and we've all seen it time and time again, is the vandalism or the criminal mischiefs or the thefts, where people just walk down one of the city streets and they just hit every car that they come across. And one of the things that we're seeing is, and you can remember back in the days of patrol, when you go into a campground, all you saw was flashlights and bodies running other ways because they knew it was you coming in before they ever saw your car, because they recognized the headlights. And that's one of the things that obviously people are starting to understand. They know what the patrol car headlights look like. They're not gonna expect somebody riding around on a, you know, if they're out breaking loud, they're looking for a car, they're not looking for a bicycle. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping will deter, we can get in there, because the rousers and Moyer, you know, we've heard numerous times from them how frustrated they are because their stuff hasn't been recovered. Yeah, that's a spider web of nightmare. I don't know if you guys have had a discussion with Marvin or not, but every time he took a left turn to go investigate something, it spider webbed out to a few more people and a few more people and a few more people. And that's one of those things that it gives us an opportunity to do that. Football games, we get a large crowd at football games. You know, it's hard to walk around and actually get from one point A to point B in a very effective time. If we don't have too many incidents, but we do have a lot of kids that congregate in the dark areas of the school during football games. At least the guys can ride around, check those areas in a random thing while at the game. Their bike goes on the back of the car, so it's not that they have to be out all the time. It's there. If they need it, they can utilize it. Rodeo, softball tournament, dart tournament, believe it or not, there's more activity on the 200 block each side of Broadway than there is on Broadway itself. And so the guys trying to drive around and enforce actions or take actions with the misbehavior that goes along with it is going to be very taxing because they try to roll around and everybody runs to one side or the other and duck and weave and everything else. It just gives us an opportunity to get out of the car and take more of a proactive approach towards the community safety aspect. It's an odd thing, I will agree with that, but I think it's just one of those things that,
I can remember many, and Brandon was probably one, and I don't know about you so much, was having problems, say it's north end town. My outfit stayed at the sheriff's office, you guys would run me up there, I'd slip out on foot, and I work my way down to the office, go back over, start again, I mean, yeah.
And I've done that throughout my career as well, you know.
I mean, usually probably the deputy took me out there and let me off, you know.
Yeah, and
I mean, different ones.
I've got out on foot myself, and and
Same.
actually caught a couple curfew violations. You know, people running through the parks, and they're running from the car, and here you're standing on the other side of the park. You know,
Same
and
thing
I
on
think
this,
we're just trying to be a little more stealthy. Maybe I don't know,
I used to do that on
innovative
the
policing
BLM,
or something. I guess you'd call
BOR,
it.
I mean, I'd park, and I might walk a mile or two down through there, especially on those fireworks, and I just come right up on them. I
Mhm.
mean,
and it's just a different environment we're working in anymore, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make it more user friendly. I guess I don't know what else to do. It's like we're getting kicked in the shins on a regular basis. So
This has three strong positives in my opinion, and you can easily look from the outside in on something you don't know about and make assumptions. But when you start listening to what you've just described, and you start looking at our community, it's easy to start seeing those positives. One is prevention, and you know as well as I do, that's the direction law enforcement needs to go. There's an effort to go in that direction. You guys are hitting it with the bikes. Accessibility. People can yell at you from across the street, direct you, say hi, and build that relationship. I think it's a great idea. It's worth a try. And the other thing is you're getting the community behind you. You got Rotary last night. They want to do a challenge to other clubs. Now you're building support for law enforcement. There isn't a downside to that.
I had another positive, and I think that with sheriffs wanting to get into the school and stuff, is to do a bike safety course with the law enforcement actually putting it on, and maybe get those on those helmet programs, and just that summer months keeping with the kids and those officers that
you used to do that.
are trained.
Didn't you do that?
That's a great
Highway
idea.
patrol
Highway
did.
patrol did that.
Yeah,
Oh, it's highway patrol. Oh.
we would go over there, and we wouldn't be on the bikes or anything, but I think to have officers riding around bikes with kids, maybe set up some bike rides or something, and being able to see, wow, this is neat, this a guy in uniform, riding around on bikes and teach us bike safety, I think is another huge positive with it. I also look at it and feel, it seems kind of silly, and how practical is it? And I think you can really look at some positive things, and I'm sure that there'll be some people kind of like, when are they going to use those? But I think the more that we do, the more that they see. I think it is a positive thing, and a deterrent for the crime in the town. I mean, we all know about those strings of vandalism and thefts that go on, and I mean, we drive down the street and you never see anybody all night in town they're obviously there, but they're hiding under the trees, you know, so I think being a little more stealthy, I guess, on certain nights, you know, if we start getting some vandalism, and you go pop out on your bike for a couple hours, you can cover a lot of ground. Plus, if you get a call down in Three Forks, you're just minutes away versus, you know, trying to run all the way back to your patrol car, and then drive all the way to Three Forks. I see a lot of positives. It's something different. I don't think that it could hurt, especially if we're gonna get some donations and it wouldn't cost the taxpayers anything, you know, but
Right?
I
Big
guess a
bang for
little
the buck.
trust in trying to see us,
You know,
a
if you
sheriff out on a
remember,
bike.
yeah,
So,
Well, we
if
got,
you remember the northern border, like, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, well, gosh, 25, maybe 30 years ago now, they started the horse patrol.
Mhm.
The naysayers against that horse patrol when it first started were deafening. Oh my gosh, everybody's on the highway, what are they thinking? I mean, it was loud. Today, it's a constant on both borders,
Mhm.
and it is extremely successful, and the biggest drug busts on both borders have been horse patrol.
yeah,
Those guys were out, they were meeting people, they could hear things because their windows weren't rolled up. This is an opportunity, and you know what, okay, so maybe it ends up being a bad idea. Sell the bikes.
yeah.
It's not a big investment, and like you said, it's not gonna hit the taxpayers negatively at all.
Yeah.
well, we got 4 officers. I mean, Marvin's already been through, the bike patrol course. But Seth and Tony and Jason are all very excited for an opportunity to do it.
Well, the only way I'm supporting this is if the sheriff and undersheriff get on board
you know,
and on a bike.
yeah, I don't know about that.
You know, on this horse patrol, I did a lot of it horseback on the Forest Service end of it, and then I go back when I was in search and rescue, and we used to do parking stuff at the rodeo.
Mhm.
There'd be some of us horseback on that.
You know, and the thing, and that's one of the things, and I look at, you know, we rarely have an incident that occurs within the rodeo grounds itself. When you talk about the arena and the grandstands, we rarely have any problems there. And we haven't in the last 5 years since I've been there. But it's the outside in the trailer area is where we have the problems. And so even in this aspect, I thought, you know, when the guys come out, when it starts getting dark, start rolling through those trailers, because that's where we start having the problems. And, you know, everybody's been sitting around, it's a long week for everybody, if you're camped out there, like, I'm not camped out there, but I'm out there from about 8 in the morning until midnight every night, and it gets very redundant, but, you know, it's one of those, they can get out there, they can move around very fluently and still have an opportunity to get back to their car and get where they need to go, without too many hassles, so I think it's good. You know, one of the things that we look at is, we have a very big body of water, we have a very long river that comes through, so we have a dam area as well. Even in the aspect, and after we kind of get some of these things put to bed, we're gonna have to get to the point where we start having a conversation about using, like the Sea-Doos or Skidoos or whatever you wanna call them, to go out and patrol that waterway. There's lots of problems that go on in that river, and outside of just the otters attacking the floaters, we have other issues that occur in that stretch of water between the Townsend Bridge and obviously the Toston Bridge, and there's probably at some point we're gonna lose somebody pretty bad out there one of these days. Something bad's really gonna happen, because they get pretty careless out there. And so, you know, and then just the lake itself, there's a large amount of people that go out there and they don't care about anything other than them and themselves and their boat. And so, you know, as time goes on, we're probably gonna have a conversation in regards to that. I've noticed with Sheriff McDermott over in Missoula County, he's actually got, he puts his deputies out on foilers to check his mountain areas, because there's obviously so many things that go on in Missoula County, which is a nightmare. But not that I want to go to that extreme, because it's hard to do anyways, but I guess going back to what Chief Brown said, we're asking a lot of our cops here lately, and it's not getting any better. So, you know, I'm open to ideas and suggestions, and so if you guys have anything you think about, let me know, and we can go from there. But
Hey, when on the bikes, is there a requirement that you go with a certain bike, or can you have a bike shop build you one?
You know, I don't know, I just, the ones I asked for, from Jake, when he had them on display there, you know, they're a 29 inch, I should have brought the thing with me and I apologize. They're a 29 inch wheel, 18 inch frame, police package. They got the, believe it or not, the emergency lights that go on the bike are damn near as much as a bike, I swear. And then the bags and everything else, so, you know, I guess the bike itself is $1,300. And then that light, the lights that go on it, not headlight, tail light, but also emergency lights, is $550. And then the bag for the ticket book, or the PBT, gloves, tools, things that you need, that's on there. And that whole, the whole quote was $4,904.72, I think is what it was. But that included the helmets, gloves, uniform.
Does that include the bike rack for the vehicle?
Yep. So everything for 2 officers. And, you know, my thought on it is I don't necessarily want to have 2 people assigned to it strictly all the time. You know, everybody can get a year in or whatever, and then they can rotate to somebody else, and then rotate around. I'd prefer to have the volunteer aspect versus voluntold. And so I think right now everything seems to be working pretty effectively in that aspect, so. And there seems to be some, I haven't heard any negatives about the bike issue. I'm hoping Bill Kearns was there yesterday, and so was Bob Brostrop, and he's part of Lions as well. So I kinda got 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak, actually 3. But it went well, and so I really foresee that if we're gonna get, we'll get some contributions from the community in this, and if there's a lag in it where we're short, it's not gonna be, I don't feel it's gonna be much, is my personal opinion. I think that we're an easy fix, so to speak. Because it seemed like the response I got from the Rotary last night was very positive, so let's cover that side.
I will ride a bike before I ride a horse around.
I do get to, I you know, back to voluntold, you know, I was late for the meeting and I got punished for it. I thought Vince was gonna be there for the rodeo board meeting and he wasn't, and he said he would let me know if he wasn't gonna make it. Well, I never heard from him, so I thought he was there, and I was fighting my wheel line mover, and so I was about 20 minutes late. 20 minutes late got me carrying the American flag in the parade. Crap. So,
On a bike.
I
I
might.
don't know if we're gonna let her get on a horse. It's been bucked off too many times.
It ain't gonna hurt much if I do, except my pride, but yeah, it teaches you to be on time, is what needs to happen, so. But is there any questions for me or Brandon or anything?
Not for me, no.
Nope.
Everybody's good? Ann?
I love the idea of a bike safety program. It's been way too many years since it's been done in this community, and you can tell when you see the kids riding.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very, very important.
Oh, yeah.
4-H
Yeah.
used to do it,
Yeah.
and it hasn't been done for a long
Yeah.
time.
And the thing, with that, we're really trying to get back to these kids and change that whole culture of law enforcement and the new generation. And one of those, I think, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to get in the school a little bit more and just bring up those things. Hey guys, when you get to the crosswalk, I know it's easier to ride your bike across, but you need to walk it, and you do need to stop
And I would suggest that you could ask either 4-H and or FFA to be involved with your program too.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and you know, the search and rescue guys, they wanna help wherever they can as well, and I did bring up the Huckettree thing with the FTO for search and rescue last night, and he was very excited about the idea. So, and I don't know if you understand, Huckettree is having search and rescue teach our children that if they get lost in the woods, don't wander around, grab a tree, stay there. And so when I talked to Nate Montiel last night, he was pretty excited about the idea. So, and so we'll do some research on that as well. But I think we need to get back in touch. And one of the things I did bring up is having a bike patrol, as silly as it is, in some aspects, it gets the guys out of the car and makes them part of the community again. And we have to, obviously, we look around the nation and see that that isn't happening, and that's why we have the problems that we have. And I don't want, Broward County, knock on wood, is one of the few counties and towns is one of the few cities that have never lost a law enforcement officer in the line of duty, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You guys do good work. Keep it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it, we got some deputy interviews this afternoon, and got some really good candidates, so
Nice.
hopefully we can,
There was one we really thought was a good candidate, and it kind of turned a little quirky, but
yeah, so we'll send a couple of the top ones to sit down with the sheriff personally, and he can make his decision, so. But I think we'll get a good one out of this bunch, that's for sure.
Excellent.
so.
Commissioner Corthall is gonna help us out with that decision this afternoon. Got a long one set for him, 1 to 7. So,
Really?
Oofda.
Yeah, you guys have fun with that.
our county attorney put together a pretty good kind of a case review in response to calls, and just to get their minds going on how they would react and what would they prioritize and stuff like that. So it gives you, if you read it, you'll kind of laugh. It gives you a good idea of what goes on in Corey's head. So he's a pretty funny guy. He comes up with some good stuff. So
He pulled the reins on his brain.
yeah. So all right. Well,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
for your time.
Thanks,
Hey,
you guys.
have a good one.
All right, well, we, had goal setting. Do you guys wanna talk about any goals with budgeting?
I think we have some of those. We have sanitarian, law enforcement, county attorney, and the hospital. I think those are the main ones that have come and talked to us. Those are the ones that have actually come and talked to me as well. Bowen Road Department. I just met with them this morning. Theirs is not huge. There's just some policy stuff. So.
Okay, no request for money?
No, just putting their boot reimbursement into an actual policy. Because as it is right now, it's just an every 2-year thing. So what I suggested is having a little more formal type of process, sort of like the sheriff's office where they're given X amount of dollars, because Dana provides the jacket, and I said, that's good and everything, but if you have a guy that's tough on equipment, you're providing quite a few jackets, and if you turn around and give a small allowance, then they're required to get their own boots through that allowance and their own jacket, and you can give them the initials. So that's what we talked about this morning. So they asked me to look at that, and we already do that with the boots now. But I think if we put it more in a formal atmosphere, or it could save us some money in the future.
Good plan.
So those are the only ones that have talked with me on budget things so far. Those agencies or those entities.
Franklin?
No, I think that allowance is a good idea, all right, too.
Any goals you wanna share? Any insight you wanna share?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Another one that's come to us is the senior meals and services
Okay.
for our senior citizens in the community. Also, a goal that I would like to personally set, we haven't been requested of this, but I'd like to increase the veterans burial from 250
Oh, yeah,
to 350, 400, or 500, depending on what we can afford.
sure.
Maybe an incremental increase over a couple of years, but I'd like to increase that.
I thought we discussed that in our preliminary budget planning.
I don't recall it, but we might have, it's not
I
in
thought
my
we
notes.
did.
Or was we talking about the indigent burial?
Oh, that was indigent. I know we talked about some sort of burial.
We have
And I
talked
thought
about
it was-
indigent, we haven't talked about
Okay.
any money.
Sure.
And I think with Wynn in the sheriff's office, that won't be as much an issue that it's been in the past.
Sure.
He really does follow law and policy pretty strictly on that. The other thing is, as we talked today about mills, one of the ways to offset it need for mills is growing a stronger economy. And some of the things that Brad said, I think we as part of the leadership team for the county need to take to heart. Growing the economy means growing our community, as well as better paying jobs, more opportunities. It's not gonna happen overnight, but stronger economy equals less need for taxes,
Sure.
because you're getting it's more encompassing. Water comes into the harbor and lifts all boats. And that's about it, I guess, from my notes. So, alright, that's all I have. Ann, you have anything to share? Okay. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, we'll be back here somewhere Friday morning at 11. So, alright, this meeting's adjourned at 11:54.
What are we on Friday night?
Getting together with the guy on the survey for salaries and
Oh, that's
job
right.
description
Yep.